Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast, Fulfillment in Faith. I am your host, Shannan Mondor. Today's episode is a continuation of my series, You Are Not the Only One. I was brought forth to do this series because during my healing from my addiction to alcohol, there were so many times that the universe had brought me to silence. And it was during those times was when I learned so many things about myself, and I was guided. I was guided to talk openly about my past, my abuse, my addiction, and to speak my truth. From those moments of silence is when we learn, we grow, we teach, and we help others. Today, I have a very special guest, and her name is Rhonda Hughes, who is here to share her story. Welcome, Rhonda. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Shannan?
I couldn't be any better. I got to tell you that. Life is grand, but it's all what you make of it too, correct?
It is.
So Rhonda, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, and then just go into your story and tell us, your time of stillness.
Absolutely. So my name is Rhonda Hughes, and I am from Texas. So a proper greeting would be howdy, y'all. Um, so yeah, I'm from Texas, born and raised. I still reside in the state of Texas now, and I'm a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur. I am also a public servant. I have a podcast as well. So again, I am one of those people that have many coals in the fire.
Wonderful.
Just to give you a little bit about myself, born in Texas, raised in Texas for the most part. Spent a couple years in Ohio as a young child, but for the most part, I've always resided in Texas. I went to undergrad in Texas, and I received my master's from Texas Women's University. So, I mean, I'm all about everything Texas, Dallas Cowboys, Rangers. If it's Texas, it's me. So, just to jump right into my story of stillness, like everyone, I came to a screeching halt in 2020 at the onset of COVID-19. During that time, I started to meditate and to do yoga. Um, and from that point, that actually is where I began to step into my purpose and into my journey of being the lit coach, which is living intentional today. Um, for me, I do so many things for other people. I've always been somewhat of a people pleaser. I didn't realize I was losing myself in my need to fit in and please people to the point of, accepting lackluster treatment from friends and family, or carrying the brunt of burdens and doing things like that, just because I never really wanted to say no. But because of an abrupt issue with a person, I had to say no to someone that I loved very dearly. And at that point, I realized that it felt good to kind of speak up for myself. And during that time, I realized that, man, speaking up for myself isn't something that I've been doing, but it does feel good, and I need to do it more often because I'm not presenting myself the true person that I truly am by being the yes woman. So at that point, I decided that I was going to start living an intentional life. And for me, it's by being me, knowing exactly why I do what I do and why I want to do it. So that's kind of how I got into my moment of stillness. And during this time, it's allowed me to start my business, my candle business. And in the very beginning, it was merely just to create candles that smelled really, really good for myself. But because I was into that state of wanting to meditate and doing yoga and things like that, I found that it was hard for me to be still. It was hard for me to focus, for me to get to a place of stillness whenever I needed to get my thoughts together. So I began to make myself crystal candles so that I could just zone in. Whenever I light that candle, I could zone in and find me a place that I can then retreat inward. And once I started doing that, my friends and family, they wanted their candles too. And that's how I began my journey, and understanding that I'm not the only person that doesn't know how to, one, be still. I'm not the only person that doesn't understand how to just get central with myself. And so at that point, I thought, hey, that may be a little niche. Maybe I can help others to define their intention, help them to understand the power within themselves, understanding that it starts with every day of gratitude. And just before I even put my feet on the ground, I just say thank you. I mean, just having that mindset of today is going to be a good day, no matter whatever it brings. That is what my intention has done for me. And hopefully I will be able to spread that message, not only through my candle business, but through my podcast. That is a journey that I'm on an endeavor with my sister and another family member, and it's called Absolutely Positively Sis. And so as women, again, we wear a lot of hats, we do a lot of things, and sometimes we are our biggest and most toughest critics. And we have to give ourselves permission just to say, we can do it positively. So whenever we decided to do the podcast, it was just a simple way to get women together and let them know they can do anything absolutely positively, no matter how hard it is. If it's not all together, it doesn't matter, because again, we criticize ourselves. Other people are going to criticize us. Don't wait until you to the point of to your perfection, because I guarantee you there's going to be someone on the other end of it that has something critical to say about it. So for me, it's about walking through my intention and allowing the Lord to place my steps. And I'm so glad he's been able to do that, because there's been so many things that I didn't receive. And I wondered, why didn't I get this job, or why didn't I do this? But the things that I've done in my earlier years have actually led me to be able to be here, to be with you, and to share my story of living in an intentional life and living it today, being in the present and living in the now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Was there one specific pivotal moment that really stands out for you that was a real wake-up call to you? Because I know with me there was. Was there, or was there just many? There was just one thing that led to another, that led to another, that led to another.
I think that there's probably a culmination of events that have happened that allowed me to say, that led me to my moment in stillness. Again, I say the onset probably was COVID, because in my day to day, I travel for my job, and I didn't have a lot of time to be home during the long hours of the day and spend with myself. But working from home, which was a total different, it pivoted the way that I worked. I would only go into the office more times than not. And so being at home, it just allowed me to be still. I mean, because I was just I was always on the go. I was always going, and I'm always moving. And, I'm also going through a transition with my household. My daughter had graduated high school in 2020. My husband and I became empty nesters. So that allowed me to do a 100, well, I want to say a 360, a full spin, to then focus on myself, focus on my husband. We were no longer, we didn't have children. We don't have children at home that we're caring for. So we have poured into them, and it allowed me to pour into myself. So we had, a few events. So, the empty nesting, COVID, having a bad experience with a merchant, all of those things just allowed me to say, speak up for yourself. There was one point in my life that as a young kid, I felt like I was too mouthy. I think one of the things that we learn as a young child is that, you don't talk back. And now again, as a life coach, I think, what does that look like for someone that is trying to have their voice? No, you don't talk back in a disrespectful way, but at the time that I grew up in the 70s, there was no tolerance for a child to have a response. This is what I said, and if you have anything other if you have anything other to say than yes ma'am or no sir, or yes sir or no ma'am, then you're talking back. So at that point, if you're speaking and you're having your children to do that, then they're learning that you just have to hold it in. I started doing that as a teenager. I felt like, well, if I say this to a person, they're not going to like me, or, well, I have a difference of opinion, but I'm not going to say that because they're not going to like me, or even in authority, as a young professional, or well, that's my boss. My boss told me to do this, and I'm thinking that doesn't sound right. In my stillness, I realized the chakra, and I realized that my communication was blocked. That was one of the chakra that were blocked. And so I immediately went to the source, my God, and said, help me, just temper me, show me what it is I need to see, and then help me to get the words or say the words or show me things, so that I choose the right battle. Because I had totally became silent within my own self by my desire to fit in, or my desire to not feel like I wasn't being disrespectful to an authority figure. So those are some of the moments that I can see that led to my stillness.
Now, your candle business is obviously one of the ways where you could have self-expression with that, with the creativity in regards to that. Can you go into a little bit of depth of your candle business? Like, how did that come into fruition, and what was your goal? I'm not going to say goal, because I really believe that with you, it was just a beautiful thing that happened to you, where you could become more into the individual that you are with the power that you hold within. So can you go a little bit more in depth on that? Because I feel it, like I've got shivers now, because I know
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
who you are.
Absolutely. Positively. So the candle business. So one, I am a very crafty type person. I was in an organization where I led girls, and we did a lot of different crafts for many, many years. So I've always had a desire for fine arts, whether we're drawing something, we're sewing something, we're putting together bird feeders, whatever. I love to create. My mother is a creator. We didn't have anything else. We always had our hands, if it was fine arts, if we were singing. So I've always had a desire to make things. So that came from an early age. And then again, as my daughter was young, and my affiliation with different organizations that allowed me to become crafty. When I started my candle business, I did that with the intention of being able to provide myself the candles that I wanted to make for myself. When I realized that I loved the whole crystal aspect, and being able to, again, the chakras. I didn't know anything about a chakra. I don't even remember exactly how I learned about it. Maybe during my yoga, someone may have mentioned it, and I started realizing and reading. I was like, oh man, okay, the spinning wheel, okay. So it started kind of getting my mind going, like, wow, well, you know what? Whenever you light a candle, you have to pay attention to that candle. You don't just light a candle and leave it. There are candle rules, and that's one of the things I talk about, in my business. But when you light a candle, that candle is there, or when a candle's in a room and someone walks into a room, they smell it or they see it, and they're going to focus on it. And I thought, oh, I'm going to create crystal candles, candles that will help you to focus, I want them to be sage based because I want you to inhale a really nice smell, and that uh, I want it to have a purpose. Even the stones that I use in the candles, I want them to have a purpose. So I'm glad you asked. And I said to myself, she may want to get into my candles a little bit more. So I actually got a couple of them sitting right
Oh,
here with
yeah.
me. So
Oh, they're
you
beautiful.
got, so I have these candles. At the very bottom, you'll see there's like 3 layers of crystals, and they're authentic crystals. I hand make each and every one of these candles, and you light it. They smell so good. I create my own sage custom scents for these. Like this one has titanium and rose quartz. So if you're manifesting love, this may be very specific. This one has the chakra with the third eye. And so it's covering all of the chakra. But I did this so that you will be still, so that you
Those are
can get,
beautiful. Those are absolutely
get
beautiful.
into it. Thank you so much. I have to make sure I get your address so I can send you one.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Um, but
Yeah.
but I definitely did that with the intent of creating a manifestation resource. I wanted you to be able to meditate. I want you to be able to be still. And I want you just to be able to make peace within. So that's kind of how I got started with it. Like, oh, I'm going to.
Oh, we froze up a little bit.
He has helped me see that I'm going to have a candle empire. I host candle workshops where I invite people to come in. We create and make their own candles. And we also make a soap bar during that time. And I call this a full sensory experience. So all 5 of your senses you will have a chance to unfold something with every sense while you're there. We partner with a local herbal life specialist, a drink shop that's here in the city that I live in. And we come in, we bring uh, everything that you want to have a nice drink, or if you want a mimosa, if you want a alcoholic beverage, you can do that as well. You can also do a BYOB. Sometimes we do them on Saturday evenings, or sometimes Sundays, we call them Sunday fun days. We'll do them in a Sunday afternoon. But people come in from the community and they meet each other, and we just have a really good time. So that's one aspect of the business. But then we make sage incense, anything that we can do to help you cultivate that time for yourself. It's all about self-love, self-empowerment, and being positive. And so that is what my candle business is in a nutshell. And then recently, in February, I completed my courses to become a certified master life coach. And I decided that I would be Lotus, the lit coach, which Lotus Light is also my pen name. I'm an author, and I'm saying that even though my book's not out yet, I am saying that I'm affirming it. And that's what manifestation does for me. It helps me to affirm the things that I want. So you'll hear, when I do certain certain events, people are like, who are you? Are you you're Rhonda, or you Lotus? Who are you? I'm like, all of the above. As long as you call me in love, I don't care what you call me. As long as you're not calling me for money, I don't care what you call me.
And you have to live in your future self
Exactly.
to make it come to you.
Yes.
Full of manifestation for those that don't
Yeah.
know out there. Yeah, that's the rule.
Yes.
Oh, so
Yes.
you're on that right path. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, questions now. So what is the biggest thing that you learned throughout your whole process that really resonated with you? What really stuck with you?
Wow. There are 2 really big things that I learned, and they were about myself. And one is that I'm very critical. I may be critical to others, but I'm probably my toughest critic. And I need to give myself permission to be wrong. I need to give myself permission to be impatient. I need to give myself permission to work through these things. There's not a perfect person. You know, I used to sometimes tell myself that I would need to lower my expectations of others. Do I really need to lower my expectation of others, or do I just need to just be patient and work through whatever it is? It's not that I need to lower anything. I feel like when you have a standard, that's your standard. You have the right to have a standard, but you can't make your standard someone else's standard. You can only make the standard for yourself. You can have standards for the way that someone treats you by either saying, I'm not going to open up access for this type of behavior. And you can still love people that you don't necessarily give access to, that you choose. Because again, here I am coming from a place of wanting to please people. There are times that there are people in my life that, in relationships in my life, that weren't serving me. And so I'm big in reciprocity. That's very important to me. Understanding that there's a mutual benefit to every relationship. So those are some of the things that just stood out, to me. Like, if you can work on these things, you'll be okay. If you can work on these things, because I can work on me, but I can't control what anyone else does. But I can certainly work on myself.
Isn't that the amazing thing about when you come into your power and you really get to know and understand who you are? It becomes about you, the compassion and love that you have for yourself, where before that never even crossed your mind. It was always about, what will people think?
What will people think?
What will people think of me? Oh my goodness. Your concerns were always on the outside and never about the inside.
Exactly.
And it's just that pivotal moment when you do come into your power and you realize, no, it is all about me. It's about me.
It is.
It really is about me. And you get it. And then you start to live it. And then you breathe it. And then you teach
Exactly.
others, right?
Yes. Because I'm not, if I am being a pleaser, I'm not living in my truth. So they're not getting the real me. You're getting what you want to hear. And one of the things that was an epiphany to me is, once I started living and being me and saying what I truly felt, there were some people that were really turned off, and that's okay. I'm okay with it, because I'd rather be able just to be myself, because I know there's a few things about me. I'm not a disrespectful person, so I'm going to try to give it to you in a respectful manner, but it's okay to disagree, and it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
Be okay. If you're living in the now, it starts with no.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? It
It
really does.
does. If
Yeah.
you're living in the now, it starts with no. And I think the other thing that I learned is that to live intentional today is to let the past be the past, no matter how hard it is, and learn from your past, because there is, every time there's a blessing, and if you hear the word blessing, there's always a lesson. You've had to go through a lesson,
You have to
you
put
know.
that affirmation on one of your candles.
I
You
will.
do.
I will.
Living in the
I
now
will.
means no. You better write that down and remember
Yeah.
that. And let me
Yeah.
tell you that because that is so true. It's so true. What
Yeah.
is
It
it that
starts with no.
yeah. Did you write it down?
I did. I
I'm
did.
gonna remind you anyways, girl. So what do you
All
want
right.
to know? What is the most important thing about your journey that you want others to know?
The most important thing about my journey is that I want people to understand that don't compare yourself. Compete with yourself.
Mhm.
Don't compare yourself to others. The only person that you want to get better than is the person that you were the day before.
Mhm.
Your story can't be measured by what the next person is doing. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a lot of other entrepreneurs around me. There's a lot of other coaches around me. I can't compare my journey to what they're going through. What I would tell others is, Strengthen yourself, give yourself confidence, give yourself for mistakes, love yourself, talk nice to yourself. Do not dwell on what you can't do. Dwell on what you can do. Create a culture within yourself that says yes, but don't be afraid to tell others no. Tell yourself yes, you can do it. Give yourself more credit than you feel like you have, because you can do it. Once you start to truly believe in yourself, you are your biggest superpower, and your mindset is a superpower. And so for me, it's my intention and spreading the word of living intentional today. That's my superpower. That's my gift to the world. Making you know that, Shannan, you can do this. You already know we got stages we're crossing, right? We've already talked about this, right? There is more to come. You create your journey by believing in yourself and understanding that you have the power within. There's power in what you say. There's power in what you think. There is power in what you write down. The action begins when you execute, when you do.
Yep, that's
So
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's a very powerful message. I just wish that our education systems would get onto this. If our education system was teaching our children this from a very young age, could you imagine how that would change the world and how powerful our children would be instead of being brought up in such a negative environment? It
oh
would
my
change
God.
the world totally and completely, right? To believe in themselves and to learn how to believe in themselves. Yeah, that would be just, it would, yeah, like I said, it would absolutely change the world.
I think it would be pivotal. And I will say that one of the things that I learned, and I only learned this probably January of 2020. What are we in 2023? So this would have been January of 2022. I took an abundance course, and I've operated from a spirit of lack, scarcity, fear, and limitation. I don't know that I even knew that I was coming from that place. I
Yeah.
didn't know that it existed. And once I realized that this is how I operated, and that I transferred those same emotions to my children, to my husband, to other people, that I realized that no. That transcends. And I see people with that mindset. A lot of times people don't even realize you're operating from scarcity. You're operating from fear, like limitations. I came from very humble beginnings. My parents were divorced, so my mom was a single mom for the majority of my life. And so I learned at a very early age what we didn't have when it came to materials. Now, my mother was very, very good about ensuring that we were loved, whether or not we had a phone or a TV, we had each other, we had games, we had a lot of family time, we went to church together, we sang. So there was always things that we could do together, activities wise. But I knew not to bring home the field trip slip because I knew we didn't have the money. So probably by the time I graduated high school, I didn't ask for a senior ring. I didn't ask for the senior trip. I knew we didn't have it. However, if I were able to step back years ago, I really wish it could have been like, no, you could have had it. You can have it. But she was operating from fear, scarcity, limitation, lack as well. And so for me, one of the things I did is I apologized. I apologized to my daughter. She was actually away in college her freshman year. And I called her up one day and said, hey, I just want you to know, don't ever be concerned about money, whatever. If you need something while you're there, call me. Let me know. We'll figure it out. If you need something, because I transferred into her, we don't have it, you don't. And we do. We live an abundant life. And when you start living a life of abundance and being intentional about prosperity, you understand that it's not about material things. Your abundance can come in different ways. Your abundance can come in so many different ways. I was one, and I can give you an example. I was doing my podcast and someone was watching. They called me up or inboxed me and said, "Hey, I'm looking for an MC for this event." And she was kind of beating around about it. And I was thinking, well, why is she sending this to me? And I was like, well, I really don't know anyone. And she was like, do you think you can do it? And in my mind, I'm like, I know I can do it. That's really what I thought.
Mhm.
And I did the event and she wanted to pay me. And I'm like, no, I knew she really didn't have a budget. It really didn't matter. I actually was thinking, no, this is good. This will let me get my message out. It'll help me. I know that I'm doing some things, you know. So in my mind, I'm like, it's a win-win. I don't care. And it was out of state, but this is a state that I have family in. So it's not costing me anything to get there. Gas. And so I did that. She insisted. So I wouldn't take any money from her. She goes, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna book an event for you. I'm going to reserve the space for you to host your own event so that all you have to do is, bring people in. I didn't pay for that. That's abundance. That's how when you're able to give and you're a giver, it will come back to you.
Oh,
It'll
absolutely.
come back. It
Hmm.
will come back.
Hmm.
And so I've always been a giver, even in times when I really didn't have it. Sometimes, people call or say they need something. I'm like, in my mind, again, and that I'm trying to please you. Okay, yeah, I have it in my mind. I'm like, oh Lord, let me transfer this over here, take a little bit out of Cash App, give this. Why don't you just say no? You know you didn't have it. Well, next Tuesday I'll have it. Those are the kind of things that help me to move forward because I know it's going to come back. You know what I mean? Although now I'm okay with just going, sorry, girl, nope, don't have it.
Hmm.
And people just going, oh, okay, they'll just go on to the next person to ask. You don't have to save the world. Like, you don't have a cape on.
Right.
That's a kimono, girl, not a cape. So
Yep.
those are the kind of things that I'm learning in my stillness I'm learning about, you know, get away from the BS. And my BS is the belief system. Get away, create your own thought pattern. We were here made in the image of our mighty God. Let's say that again because I don't know if you caught that. We were made here in the image of our mighty God. He is a mighty God, so we're mighty people.
Hmm.
We have power. Our power, we work through him, of him. So if you tap into what God has given you, and that is the spirit of what knowing that you can do it and that you can make it, you will. It's a positive mindset. It is a mindset of abundance and understanding. Again, abundance is not necessarily monetarily, it's not a material thing. This is a way of thinking, a way of living. Your abundance is coming from how you believe that your prosperity is coming. The faith that it doesn't necessarily have to be in money. It can come in so many different ways. It can come in opportunity. It can come in network. It can come in the forms of so many different things.
And
And so,
that's what people get confused on too, because you'll get the ego will kick in. And it'll be like,
oh,
where is it? Well, where is it? Where is this abundance or prosperity that you're talking about? Where's my joy? And it's like, it is all within you, but you have to be, number one, you have to have faith in yourself. It all stems back to you. It's not about what's happening out there. And if you don't really come into your own power, we all have that power within, but you have to get to that level that you're willing to accept it. The acceptance is the huge thing, and that's what people don't get. They don't understand that. Well, I'm accepting it. No, no, you're not. No, if
no.
anything,
Because you're not truly believing. If
that's
your faith,
exactly
and
what it
our
is.
faith does waver. And the thing about Satan is once you take hold to your power and you cling in to your Lord, your Savior, that is when you're under attack. So you got to get strong.
Yep.
You have to be mentally strong and you have to mentally tap into your positivity because the negative, if again, a part of the fear, scarcity, lack, all of that is negative.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite of all of those words create positive. The opposite of scarce is full.
Mm-hmm.
Negative is positive. You know what I'm saying? Fear is bravery, courageousness, courage. So when you tap into that side of your brain and you stay in that side of your brain, that's living abundantly.
And in order to stay on that side of your brain, you have to pay attention. You
And
have
be
got to pay
intentional.
attention. Yes.
You have to be intentional. You
Yes.
have to know. Trust me, ever since I've been into my intention, I have been under attack. I have had to remind myself, it's okay, it's okay, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it, it's coming. I'm all over the place. I work, I have the business, I'm doing all these different things. So sometimes you're pulled in so many different directions. It's like, I don't want my business to make me a mess. I want it to be a business. I don't want it to be a mess. And so you just have to take your time and tap in and just do, you can't eat an elephant whole. Take one little bite at a time and just be okay with it. One bite at a time. It's like one day at a time. That's what the living intentional today is. Whatever yesterday was yesterday. If it was a good day and it's bringing me forward to where I'm already on a natural high, that's great. Sometimes you have to bring yourself back up and tie your boots, pull up your bootstraps. And let me just tell you, I'm Smitty, so I might mess up a quote. My husband catches me every time. So, but sometimes you just have to tie up your shoelaces and just, and get back in the race. Don't beat yourself up, because again, I lived that scarcity, scarce, fear, limitation life for the majority of my life. It didn't start 40 years ago or 45. It's been the majority of my life. So therefore, it's going to take some time. Any good counselor will tell you, um, whenever you go to counseling, please don't think this is going to happen today. You've been living this way for 18 years. You've been doing this for 18 years. So just know it's going to take some time. It's not going to stop on a dime and change. But you do need to be very intentional.
And
Understand
yeah.
why you're doing what you're doing.
And that's the
Set
thing.
it.
People really need to look at time as their friend. Don't compete with time. Don't look at time, because really, once you really look at the big picture, everything is divine timing. You don't have control of that. And when you have that resistance towards that, that's where the doubt and all of that starts to come in. So just go with the flow. You can't look at things as a time factor or any of that. Everything will happen when it's meant to happen.
It
That's
will. And I'm glad you brought up the word flow, because I think as a people pleaser, when you are trying to please someone, you're forcing something. You're
totally.
forcing yourself.
Yeah. So just by
And
saying that, look at how many relationships you forced throughout the years.
oh, oh my goodness. I'm finding out right now whether some of these relationships, and I fault myself, not the other party, because I was the imposter. I was the one, trying to fit in or wanting to be a part of and not being my true person, because I wanted everything to be okay. So I blame myself and I'm okay with it. But I also know that I will never stop growing. I will never stop growing. So I'm getting better and better and better every day. And part of me and me being better is me being able to explain to these people that I've had relationships with, hey, things to me, it may be different now. So you're gonna see different. Now, one of the things I just had a mile marker birthday last year, and I was saying something to my mom about it. It was so funny because I was like, Mom, it's so funny. I was like, I've been so again, I've always been able to, there was a point in me where I just always used to be able to get along. Everything was okay. I said, but I'm just not feeling that way anymore. She goes, babe, yeah, you are getting to that mile marker birthday, and you probably spent the majority of your life already now at this point, possibly. So now you're going to start living for yourself. See, all that pleasing, you were doing that before. Well, then you start living for yourself and you start realizing, wait, hold on. That's not serving me. That's not doing anything for me. And why do you want to do something that you don't want to do? And I'm not saying that everything that I did as a yes, that I hated. There are some things that I was joyfully able to do. but there were a lot of things that I've done and that I will say or do just so that I don't make waves. And I don't necessarily have to make waves by saying no, but I do need to just make peace with answering truthfully for myself.
And the more, because I've been through this transition, the more that you become at peace with who you are, and then all those relationships that you had in your past, which were all based around people pleasing, you being a chameleon, and anything to do to that degree, they do fall to the wayside, and there's no, those relationships are severed, but those relationships were put in place into your life as a learning lesson for who you are. And there, like, another part of my stillness was I pretty much lost 99% of the relationships in my life. It was a very, very lonely time for me during that period, but it was also a very much a building time for me. And now the community that I have of people are just, it's just unbelievable. Like, the people that are in my life, I absolutely love. And we talked about this earlier, like even me building my public speaking platform, like, look at these people are just beyond amazing. It's people like you. And my community now is worldwide. It's
Yes.
it's a bigger community than I could have ever imagined or could have ever possibly had if I didn't let go of everything that I needed to let go.
That
So
is so true.
you're there. You're coming into it all, which is just amazing.
I'm definitely excited about this part of my journey. I couldn't, I won't, I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I didn't say that there's some uncomfortable times. And I know that's how I know I'm continuing to grow, because I am having to step outside of my comfort zone. I'm dreaming and thinking of things that were so huge. Like before, it was just, I'm gonna have these little candles. I have my crystal candles. I have my shungite incense. I'll have things that'll help people when they're meditating, when they're doing their breathing exercises, when they're gazing, things like that. And then I started thinking, you know what? No. And when I get my two-lit studio, and you come down and you're doing your coaching symposiums and whatever you're going to do, because I know it's grand. It's going to be grand. I can't wait to walk you through, my studio and what I think it's going to be, and how, because now it's more, it's not just the candles and it's not just the soap making. It's to create a creative studio, a place where people can come, they can have a full sensory experience, they can meet people, they can listen to records, the vinyl. I mean, where you can really just engage, and a place of positivity, a place of refuge, a place of where you can get a deli sandwich, I want it to, you can just come and hang out, have a
Yep.
really nice, word, really cute, all of those different things. And that's the first one. And then I want to franchise. And then I'm like, oh, and then I want the line to be in Target. So I want to keep it growing, and I want it to be so big that I don't even think about it. And then I'll be like, hey, oh my gosh, my candles are in Canada. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I
and
haven't
then
seen
you
them in
realize like there is no limitations. The
There is
only
no
person that
limitation.
puts limits on is yourself.
We limit ourselves.
Mhm.
I barely started to see. In November 4th of 2021 is when I finally got my LLC. And so this year will be 2 years. And I'm already on my third brand of where I'm creating lines for someone else.
Mhm.
So at first it's the onesie, twosie candles here and there. And then, I was doing little pop-ups. I don't even need to do the pop-ups anymore, because I can do this order here. And I just can't wait to have my own place where I can, they can go in and pick up their orders and make their stuff. It's gonna be there.
It'll
And I've
happen.
had to tell myself, take your time, it's okay. Because I have other friends and associates that I know, and they're doing this or that with their business. At first, I'm like, oh, I gotta hurry up and get this. Oh, I gotta, and I'm like, stop, girl. You gotta do it on your time. You
Yeah.
have to do it on your time, even if it didn't make sense, even if it doesn't maybe look right, or maybe it's not perfect, because that's kind of how we were with the podcast that we did, or we're doing. Absolutely, positively, sis. None of us really are technically savvy enough to even audit to do our editing yet. And so we're like, hey, first we're trying to do it, and we're like, oh my God, we're gonna re-record this one, and then we re-record the first, and they're like, hey y'all, we're absolutely positively cis unfiltered, so we got to be very careful about what we say. It doesn't matter. We're putting it out there, and we're putting it out there just like this.
That's
At least it's there.
yeah, yeah. Just put it
You
out.
know,
It doesn't have to be
you
perfect.
gotta go. You
Because
gotta do
the
it.
message is going to come through no matter what. Like mine's not perfect, but at least like people are getting the message. You're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. And that's what it's all
No,
about. That's
it
totally what
is.
it's all about.
It is. I've refrained myself a few times because anytime we're together, myself and my co-host and I, and we say absolutely, or anyone of we have a girlfriend group. Anytime someone says absolutely in unison, someone else is going to say positively, sis. I mean, it's a whole movement. And so we've taken that podcast, and not only are we, just talking a little bit about, current events, girlfriend kind of stuff, things that happen. Like one of the biggest topics was um Roe versus Wade. That was a big conversation. And then Ketanji Jackson, first Black Supreme Court justice. So we talk a little bit about things like that, but we also, because we are in the great state of Texas, and there's so much to do in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, we pride ourselves on being able to show people how you can do things inexpensively, how you can spend a whole evening less than $20, or if different things like that. So we're trying to vlog a little bit, but we would have been seeing going, oh, maybe we should do this or maybe we should do that. Look, we just jumped right on in. And we're on a pause right now just because we're restructuring and kind of looking at the direction and making sure the commitment level is there. Those are some things that we didn't, some little housekeeping things we didn't do at first, but we've done it. We understand kind of what it is we need to do to massage it, to make it a little bit better. And to me, that is the win, to do it.
Oh,
Literally.
yes.
Do it. Execute. Action. If it's just to take the notes, don't leave the idea sitting in your head and think that you're going to remember what it was. The second that it comes to your head, write it down. I have a little notebook of little things I come up with, and I'm like, oh, I'll write that down real quick. I may not come back to it right now, maybe 2 years from now, but I've got it down.
My notebook is my notes on my phone. And let me tell you, like I've got a mile that I could scroll down of all my notes. I'll be walking or whatever, something will pop in my head, into my notes, into my notes, into my notes. So it's just a constant creativity of ideas happening. This was just amazing. So
it was.
final thing is, where are you in life right now? And I know that you've got your podcast and your candles, and let's go more into now. What is it that you want to say your final words to the audience? Where you're now, if someone wants to get a hold of your candles, your coaching, we gotta know about,
I am coaching. I'm really new with the
website, anything
coaching.
like that.
Right. Okay. So let me just give this, I'm going to do better, but I am on 3 different platforms right now: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. On Facebook, it's TOO lit candles, 3 words. On IG, it's the numeral 2 lit candles. And then on TikTok is 2 lit candles and more. Now, that's jumping into the let's just get it done. So, down the line, everything's going to have to be synced and have one specific name, and I'll work on that later. But for now, that's where you can find me as far as social media is concerned. Absolutely Positively Cis the Absolutely Positively Cis podcast is on Spotify and Anchor, and it's also on Facebook and Instagram under Absolutely Positively Cis. So if you are interested in any of the merchandise, please go on any of those social media sites, take a look, just inbox me if you're interested. Again, the website is coming, so that is something that is underway. As far as where I am right now, I am really at a place of peace and rest. I'm at a place of peace and rest because I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and my intent is just to allow myself to pace. I don't believe in resolutions, but I will say that this year on my vision board, my top word, my intentional word for me this year is to recalibrate. And so recalibrating for me is just to being in alignment with myself. So allowing myself to be real within myself is going to recalibrate and align me with the people that are supposed to be a part of my real journey. And so that's where I am. And hopefully I will continue. It's not hopefully, I will continue to spread my message of living intentional today. Let go of the past. Because if it's something that's 40 years ago, the reason why you're not speaking to someone or you haven't cleaned that up, or I mean, I don't even feel like that you need to address things. Sometimes, we feel like, well, I never get closure. Sometimes that is your closure.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just move on. You just move on.
Mhm.
But harbor no resentment, harbor no ill will for anyone, and have a sense of gratitude and gratefulness for each day. My last message or two messages to everyone is to have a gratitude journal. Write down what it is you're grateful for so that when you do when you get into a place of darkness or a place of pessimistic, um, or, what's it? When you're being negative or you feel that, you're just not doing good, pull out that gratitude journal, read it, and just remember why it is you're happy and why it is you're grateful. And then if you don't have a gratitude journal, there's always something you can think about that puts a smile on your face. And whatever it is, if it's a bad joke or something that happened in fourth grade, if that's what it takes to put a smile on your face, do it, because that can change a negative mindset within 3 seconds just by thinking of something that makes you happy.
Mhm.
Do that and live intentionally today. Stay lit. Namaste lit. That is my message. Namaste lit. I'ma stay lit. Living intentional today. Know why you're doing what you're doing. Don't walk around this place just doing things willy-nilly.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
not serving
absolutely.
you. It
Beautiful
won't
message.
serve you.
Beautiful
So
message. Yeah.
it's
Um,
simple. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not, chemistry or calculus. It's just a mindset.
mhm, mhm. And we complicate things so much. I've really noticed that with me, how I can complicate things so much. And it's just like, oh, then after the fact, it's like, oh, I just got to shake my head at myself, but learning in progress too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's one of my things I've always I always say that to people. Keep it simple.
Mhm,
Do not give me 86 steps.
mhm,
I am truly ADD. And I'm a person, that's one of the reasons why I take notes. I need to write it down because I could be talking to you right now and something over there can happen and I'm off in la la land. Again, one of the reasons why I needed focus. I needed something that I can focus on whenever I'm getting ready to meditate. And I know if I need it, there's other people. And there's been so many people from when I've done um, the 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 Wiccan sips is what I call them. So you're Wiccan and sipping. When we do the Wiccan sips, they come and they tell me, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know there were candle rules. There are people that just they're ready to burn down a house just because they don't know the candle rules." That's one, and the other thing is just like, wow, I love that message. Like live intentional day. Like that is so simple. Yeah, just keep it simple. Live intentional.
mhm.
Like let it go. Let it go. Go with the flow.
Go with-
It's a lot easier when you're just going with the flow and going with the current. It doesn't mean that you have to be a pleaser because again, if you're just saying yes to something that you really need to say no, you're going against your current. You're not going with the flow.
Exactly.
So
I do want the audience to know that any of the information that Rhonda has given on this podcast, it will also be in the podcast notes. So all you have to do is scroll down into the notes. There will be the information for Rhonda and everything's right there. Another,
absolutely.
yeah. So just to make it simple for everybody. And in my
Yes.
closing notes to the audience, if you like this podcast, please subscribe and please tell your friends. I would like all of you to go to my website, shannonmondor.com, and check it out and look at my one-on-one coaching and also my Fulfillment in Faith program, which is a 6-month personal development coaching program that you will learn mindset, you will learn how to manifest. And you'll be working with me for 6 months. And the programs that I offer will absolutely change your life completely. So I want to thank you, Rhonda. This was absolutely
Thank
amazing.
you for having me.
I'm telling you, this was such a great interview, and I loved every minute of it. So thank you for being a part of my journey, because this is huge for me as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you so much.